Another great way to save costs when doing your first refurbishment, something else that I'd recommend to anyone who's first setting up a business, the best way to find a property investor is... My name's Ed. I used to design luxury houses for billionaires, and I now design luxury HMOs for property investors and developers. You should watch this video to understand how architects and architectural technologists should be increasing the value of your property investments. So although I now work in the luxury HMO or shared living space, it didn't start out like that. Back in 2019, I was working at Adam Architecture, designing luxury houses for billionaires. And although I really enjoyed that, and one of the biggest learnings was seeing no expense spared in the materials and how they brought those projects together, what I found was I couldn't relate to the client, and I found it quite difficult to kind of put myself in their shoes. So what I wanted to do was to work in an industry that was more relatable and that I got more from. And for me, that's the HMO industry in the UK. So what I decided to do was to quit my job at Adam Architecture and go traveling for an entire year. If you're thinking of changing careers, I'd recommend going traveling because it opens your mind to new things. I did it relatively inexpensively as well. I worked the whole time that I was traveling. So I did scaffolding, I did window cleaning in Australia, and that helped me to get to all of these new places. By the time I'd come back, I'd learned so much, it had opened my mind, I've met so many people, seen so many places, and what it did for me is make me focus on the fact that I wanted to set up a business. So from there, I then decided, what's the best route to set up a business? And I would say, use the skills that you have. So I went right back full circle and thought, why don't I just set up an architecture business? So that's what I did. I set up in collective with my business partner at the time, and we started to provide architectural services. One of the things that I did right at the beginning was providing services at a reduced rate or even for free for clients, and that allowed me to get my foot in the door. And if you do a really good job, you then might get referred to other people and you're starting to become a more established business. I also created business cards and a website that just said, this website is being built, went round to random expos, got myself out there, met people, and landed my first few clients. So during that time, I also purchased my first property, and all I had was the money to purchase the property, so I ended up renovating the entire thing myself. So what I learned through that process is that I really enjoy repurposing properties, existing properties, and using the features that they have. And that's something that I bring into every project in the HMO space as well. If we can retain some of the features, we will, because it just adds value to that property. One, for the tenants, and two, it's inexpensive to use the elements that are already there. If you're currently renovating a Victorian terrace house, one of the best things you can do is retain some of the features within it. So things like the staircase, the cornicing, the skirting boards, all of that is going to add really nice character to it, and it's going to save costs. If it's your first refurb, you're not going to have a hell of a lot of money, and I didn't either. And the way that I did that, I documented the whole process, and then I worked in collaboration with companies who paid me to showcase their products on my account. One of those first ones was actually Samsung, and I remember the guy contacting me through direct message on Instagram and saying that Samsung wanted to work with me for the Frame TV, and that was one of the biggest collaborations that I ever did. I remember him saying, we're going to gift the TV to you, and we want you to create this video, and him asking me how much I would charge for that. I remember thinking at the time, bloody hell, I wouldn't have charged at all for it. I would have just taken the free gift. So for him to say that, what really did take me back at the time. And I remember saying to him on the phone, how much would somebody who was doing this typically charge? And he said, 2.5 grand, and I nearly fell off my seat. So that was a massive opportunity for me, and it allowed me to make a decent amount of money doing that collaboration and then pump that back into the renovation of that house. So to anyone who's thinking about setting up a business, I would say get yourself out there, get yourself on every platform that you possibly can and start talking about what you're doing. And the reason for that is it builds traction, you'll find clients through it, you'll collaborate with people, you'll start getting B2B referrals, stuff like that. It's just a really good way of establishing who you are and what you're doing and building an audience. And that initially is what helped me to grow HMO Designers to the business that it is today. So to anyone who's thinking about setting up a business, I would say focusing on a niche is one of the best things that you can do. And for me, that one skill was luxury HMOs. So we typically find these properties straight on the market, so places like Rightmove. And one of the ways that we do that is our new software called HMO Checker. So when looking for a good HMO property, there's 3 key factors that we look for and our clients look for. The first being location. So location is everything with property, as I'm sure you're aware. what we want with a HMO is a central city location typically, with really good local transport and amenities. So that's things like bus links, train links, hospitals and universities. The reason universities is good is not because you're always looking for, say, students. With having universities is you typically get high retention of professionals as well. So it's really good for the professional market also. So the second key factor is property optimization, and by that I mean what is the extension opportunity. The property types we look for typically is a terrace house, a semi-detached house or a detached house, and we normally look for the permitted development rights. So what kind of rear single-storey extension can you do to it, and what dormer loft conversion can you do to it? The third key factor is regulations, guidance and requirements. So that being planning, building regulations and licensing. There's lots of nuances to the HMO market. There's lots of things that you need to know that can catch you out. So you need to be really hot on your regulations. One of the first things you need to look at is Article 4. So is there an Article 4 direction which impedes the planning permissions for HMOs in that area? The other thing is, what's the room rate like? What's the demand for HMOs? How many HMOs are being approved or refused? What's the council's reception like to new HMOs? How many licensed HMOs are around that property? All of these things come into that being a good opportunity and a good property investment. So you can find all of this information online, but it's all over the place. It's on lots of different websites like the planning portal, the Gov website, things like that. So through HMO Designers, we're trying to make HMOs more available to more property investors, and one of the ways that we've done that is by building HMO Checker. This brings together all of the guidance requirements and regulations into one concise report, and it builds it in seconds. So instead of going to all of these different websites or using a property technology software, which is quite broad, this is very specific and will allow you to source and analyse more HMO property deals. The reason we created HMO Checker is because through providing national services for HMOs, we had a client qualification nightmare. So somebody would come through to our business and say, can my house be a HMO? And it could be a random borough in London that we've never worked in before. So what we'd have to do is go away and do lots of research to all of those places and bring it all together and put it into a report. A lot of the time that ended up being lost work because the property couldn't be a HMO. So we knew that we needed to build an automated system to qualify our clients. So what we did is build a back-end code which gave us all of that information in seconds, and in doing so realised how valuable it is to the market. So what we're doing now is publicly releasing it so that anyone has access to it, and hopefully we're going to expand the market by allowing people to source more HMO properties themselves. We've just spent the last 2 years building this application, making sure that it is the best HMO property analysation tool on the market. We've worked with the early adopters, taken on their suggestions, we've released it a number of times and we've iterated it throughout that process. On the 16th of October, we're publicly releasing it, and we've currently got about 1,000 people signed up to the wait list, waiting to use the application, which we are super excited about, and we can't wait to get it to the market and start providing massive value to those customers. Click the link below to analyse 10 HMO properties today for free. We used to charge £350 per property to analyse it and to provide a feasibility report. This now takes seconds through HMO Checker and costs a fraction of the price. This allows developers to save time, save money, and focus on the product that they're supplying to the market. Because we don't have to provide this feasibility service anymore, we can also concentrate on the things that we're good at as designers, which is fundamentally designing good, efficient HMO properties. One of the best ways you can elevate your HMO property is through the interior design. So focusing on those key things like timber panelling feature walls in each room, roof lights in the amenity space, making it a really nice, light, open plan area. Things that we sometimes explore with is making the circulation areas really dark so that when you go into the bedroom, it feels really big and open and light. It's little key things like that that's really going to make your property stand out on the market and elevate it from the other HMOs. So when thinking about the interior design, there's a number of ways that you can go about it. You've got the classic look, which is timeless. It uses things like paneling, it uses dark colours, and it's a more classic feel to a HMO. You've also then got a more contemporary approach, which is you know, clean lines, modern living, open plan, and maybe is more focused at the younger demographic. When thinking about planning permissions for HMOs, you want to stagger those applications, and the reason for that is it mitigates risk. Say if it's a non-Article 4 area, lawful development certificate to get 6 people, and then subsequently go in for a sui generis larger application. So we created HMO Checker to lower the barrier to entry so more property investors can find great deals and create more amazing HMO properties on the market. Off the back of that, I want to grow HMO designers to 120 projects a year, providing luxury HMO services to those property investors. With every new amazing HMO property that hits the market, we're all individually helping to change the perception of HMOs, and that is a core value of both HMO Checker and HMO designers. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my story. I really do hope it's been valuable and useful. You can follow along at HMO Designers, where I am showcasing lots of the stuff with my JV partner and the projects that we provide services for at HMO Designers. The next video will be showcasing one of the personal properties that I'm doing with my JV partner, so there'll be lots of useful insights there. I'm also renovating a house with my girlfriend at Ed's Home Reno on Instagram. We call it the Wonky Home. It's got subsidence and there's lots of interesting things going on there. So make sure to follow along at those 2 locations, and I look forward to making the next video. Make sure to like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video.